a buzzword that sounds very complicated, but it's pretty much the view is what the user sees. And then every time we make a request to the backend, we use a controller. So if we send an API request, the API request will go to the controller, and then whatever it wants to do, for example, like if you sent 1 and 2 to the backend, then from the controller, it'll do like 1 times 2 and then send it back. And what the controller does is it manipulates the model, which is pretty much just a database. In our case, we're using Firebase, but most commonly people use MongoDB. So this diagram has MongoDB, but we'll be using Firebase. And then, as I mentioned in the previous slide, once we grab data from the database, it'll update the view again. And lastly, Firebase, it is a backend as a service, so it can completely swap out our backend Express and Node, and we can just use Firebase functions. It's made by Google, and it's very, very powerful. It's also a part of Google Cloud, so if you want to connect your app to Google Cloud, there's also very simple integration methods for that as well. So let's begin. And down here, you can see the GitHub repo if you want to follow along, or just fork it and just take a look at the repo, whatever you would like. Okay. So a funny thing happened right before this workshop happened. They changed their Fanjoy website, so it no longer looks like what we had.
They changed it just today.
Yeah, like literally an hour ago, something like that. I have a cached version of it right here. This was what we like built off of it, but just to let you guys know it, they changed it like literally an hour ago.
I mean, ours is pretty updatable as well, though, so no problem.
Yeah, this is the clone we made, which is pretty similar to the actual website. But anyways, for our first speaker, we're gonna have Kerem go through the header component. I'm just gonna stop sharing my screen.
Yeah, I'll share my screen. Okay, can everybody see this part?
Yep.
The slides? Yeah. So we're gonna start off by building the header component. There's gonna be 3 key elements, which is gonna be the dehaze icon, which is like opens up a new part, and then the logo, and then the 3 navbar that's gonna be used for options such as like the account, the search icon, and the bag. So I'll just start from scratch and like a blank canvas with our create react app command from npm, and then I have npm started and localhost hosted. So let's start by building our React app on our header.js file. So I'm going to start by just outlining the header up here. And under our header, there's going to be 3 components like I talked about. It's going to be, first one is going to be the dehaze icon. That's going to be 3 lines back to back. Without caps lock, of course. And I'm using 2 underscores between the icons. This is the BEM convention. Maybe you guys heard of it. It's a really well used component. And inside this class, div class, we're gonna have our dehaze icon, which I'm gonna upload later. So I'm just leaving it as a comment. And then we're gonna have our logo in the middle. Let's just create another div for that, which is gonna be an image. Again, the double underscore for BEM convention. And then for source for the image, we can use a web image. We can use a link URL, but I already uploaded the logo image inside our src file. So I'm just going to use it using the import command. So I'm going to import the image to this file here, and then I'm going to use it saying Kuz logo because its name is logo. And then I'll just create a description for it. Okay, so that's our logo done as well. And then now we're going to go into the four components right there. They're going to be separated from them because like for the CSS, we're going to use a space in between function, and that's going to specify like these three components along the line. So we're going to create the header nav class for that. And then inside our header nav, we're going to create another div called header option for each of these options one by one. So let's start with the currency logo, Canadian dollars for our case. I'm going to specify it as an option line, and then just write Canadian dollars in normal typing. And then after that, we're going to have our expand icon there. I'm going to leave it as a comment again. We're going to deal with the icons later. And right after that, we're going to have our other option, which is the account logo. Another logo option. Then the search icon, of course. I can just copy and paste this, I guess. And then the final one, which is the shopping basket. Okay, so that's our outline done. Now let's deal with the logos, and then we're gonna get into CSS later. By the way, I used JavaScript and CSS for this build, but Joshua used style sheets, which is another like form of use of React, which is used by many big companies. But since I learned React like in a 3-month period, and I'm coming from an HTML, CSS, pure HTML, CSS background, I just found this one more easy to adapt, say. So I'm going to be using it just as a CSS file. Okay, let's deal with the icons. Now, the icons, I installed them through the Materials UI. This is a really useful plugin that you can use with React. And to install it, you just have to run this command with npm or this one with yarn. And then for the icons, you will just install it using the npm install Materials UI icon. So I already did them. So I'll just import each icon that I found using Materials UI icon components. For example, for the 3 lines that looks like this in the original page, it's very similar. We're going to be using the dehaze icon. You can just grab that and then import it into our file like we did for our image. So I'm going to import every icon one by one. So it was the expand icon, account icon, search icon, and basket icon, right? Let's import them real quick. Okay, there we go. So for our dehaze icon, Now we can create it without the need of comments. It just pops up because it's already uploaded in the file. And then let's create a class name for it to further style it in the CSS file. Let's call it header dehaze icon. Sorry. Okay. And then same thing for all our icons there. And then for this icon, we want it pretty small in the original case. So let's use the font size option. A little cheeky inline styling there. Same for the account logo, which is called person outline icon. Great. And then search icon. And then our shopping basket icon. Okay, now we can go back to CSS and start with some styling. First off, we want the header to be pretty large, like a big height. So let's target the header and then start with the height. 80 pixels should be enough. We can see it later. And then display flex to make it nice and clean. Align item center. You can find all these like CSS function in like usual tutorials or just any reference files. These are like somewhat confusing when you first start, but then it gets trivial. So position sticky. This is important to make the header sticky. Like wherever we go in the file, the header will stay there. And then justify content. Space between is what we want, because we want these lines to be spaced between equally. And then we want a little border at the bottom. 1 pixel should be enough. And solid light gray should be looking smooth. Okay, then let's target the dehaze icon. We want a little bit of padding before the start, so let's just take care of that. "20 pixels from each side should be enough. And maybe 30 from the bottom, since it's a little bit higher. Okay. Then the important part, which is the header logo. It should be nice and clean at the top center. Let's figure out a bit. I'm gonna try 100 pixels first. And then if it's too big or if it's too small, we can fix it later. And then object fit contain to be contained in the center, and float center should be enough. Okay. Now the header's kind of looking smooth already. but these ones need to be lined up one by one, and we can style them each other one by one as well, because we created a class name for each of them. So let's use them. We just finished logo. Let's go to option line. Let's target that. So for the option line, the CAD, Canadian dollars, let's use a font size of 11 pixels and a color of gray, because it was gray, I think. Yeah. Okay. And then the header expand icon, which is the little icon there. We already used an inline styling for that, but we can put like a color and a padding on that as well. So we want that to be gray as well, and also add a padding top of 1 pixel. Okay, it looks great. It looks the right size that we want it to be. Okay. Let's just figure out this nav bar looking. We need it to be looking clean for sure. Display flex is a really useful command. We're just going to use that again. Hopefully it will fix. Yeah, there we go. So it's almost ready, but we still need a little bit of padding for these icons. Oh, we can use also for header nav justify content space between, not between, evenly would work better probably. Let's try both. Okay, between didn't do nothing. Let's try evenly. That didn't do nothing as well. Okay, let's then add individual padding to each of them. So after the expand icon, there is the account icon. Yep. So for that, let's put a margin left because it's a little bit more separated here. Margin left of 25 pixels should be enough, I guess. Yep, there we go, that's good. And then same for the next icon, search icon. Padding of, let's go padding left 15 pixels. And padding right 15 pixels to space it out evenly. Okay, now we're in a pretty good term. Only this should have padding as well. That's easy. Let's just create another class. For the basket icon, let's just put a margin right. We can do it with padding as well, but it's just the same thing. Okay, there we go. Our site is, I think, looking clean, starting with the header. And now we can head it over to Joshua to get out with the rest. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thanks, Kerem.
Can I ask a quick question? Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Of course.
So that CAD dropdown, what did that look like in the code again? Can you just show me your code quick?
Sure. I just used the span and
how did you get the down arrow there, though?
The down arrow, I used an icon as, again from the.
That's just an icon.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Got you. Okay. Thanks.
No worries. Okay, I'll stop sharing screen.
Awesome. I'll share now. You can see my screen, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna be working on the catalog section. So I'm gonna like kind of skip over the CSS a little bit and kind of work on the integration between front end and back end with a little bit of style components as well. So how the images are loading right now is from our Firebase console. We have an items of through 1 to 8, and it's just mapping it like this with a flexbox grid. So I'll be kind of going through that of how to make service calls to the backend and using controllers from backend to manipulate Firebase Firestore, which is a NoSQL database. So as Kerem mentioned, I am going to be using style components instead of CSS. Style components is like it's JavaScript, but CSS integrated pretty much. It's used by a lot of companies like Google and Airbnb, DoorDash, and it's fairly industry standard. This is how you install it, npm install style components, and it's actually very simple to use, which I'll be going through it right now. So right now I have a static version of the app right now. If I save this, I think it should hopefully not crash. Yeah, okay, so I changed everything to just a static version, and I'll be going through the process of converting this into a dynamic version so that even if you add one more image here, it's going to make a new row and start from the first column and etc. Okay, so let's get started. So style components. The first thing you have to do is make a different, oh, actually, sorry, I should go through the file structure first. So we did make this app from a create React app. So as usual, the render DOM renders app. And from here, I'm going to be going through 3 crucial React hook functions, which is necessary for asynchronous actions, as I mentioned before. And that involves like React lifecycles, but really React hooks really simplifies it. So the first one you can see here is context. So what the React context does is, I can show you here. So this is how you create a context. It's very simple. The syntax, you can just Google it, but I just want to tell you like what it does really quickly. If you wrap a context like this around any like a bunch of components here, then you can call this context from any of these functions, any of these components, and have the values you passed in without needing to send props in from a parent component. So for example, if I'm in the header right now, actually let's not do the header. Let's do, if I'm in the navigation component, for example, and I have another component within this component, and I have another component within this component, and then I need a data from like the top level, then I need to pass in a prop from here, into that component, and into that component to actually send the data there. But with the power of context, all you have to do is call the context, and it'll send you the data value data right away. So in here, I just set 4 value data to send into the context. So that is items, set items, cart, and set cart. So this here is another crucial hook, React hook function. So what this one does, the syntax can be a little bit confusing in the beginning, but pretty much what the syntax means is this is a state, and then the second one is a function. It's a set state, and then use state like this. This is how you use a use state hook. So what goes in here is the initial value of the state. So it's normal convention to pass in what the value of the state is usually going to be. So for example, if this is going to be a string, then you should have an empty string. If it's going to be a JavaScript object, then it's going to be a empty JavaScript object. In this case, they're both arrays, so I put empty arrays, and etc. And if you want to consume these, pretty much, as I said, it's passed into the context. So all you have to do is call the context and then do like context.items to consume it. And then to change the state is this function here, set state. If you do something like set state, so for example, right now state is an empty, let's say, array. And if I want to change that to like a, I don't know, to like 0, 1, 2, 3, then this is how I change it. So any value that's within this bracket, this pinkish bracket, it's going to change that state to this. And as soon as it does change the state, it'll update the DOM render, meaning it'll refresh all the states essentially. And that I will get back to later, which is crucial for asynchronous actions. So that's a little quick overview. And and this is the last React hooks I was mentioning, which is use effect. I'll get to this later because this one's a little bit more tricky.
Can I ask a question about context?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you just go through the journey of context, like of that specific context example you did there? So like what happens from when the user clicks something like throughout the cycle there?
Sure. So I do have the so there in this particular app, I only used it once, which I was going to go through the live coding, but I have a old version as well. So as you can see here, this is how you call the context. So I created the app context in this particular folder, and you just have to call that and use the use context hook. And then from there, you could do like this as well. And then like x dot item or like x dot cart. But I'm using destruction because it's
so what's the catalog? So the catalog is the like the not the gallery, but like the all of the items that are on the page, right? That's what the catalog is.
Yeah, all the
like okay. Yeah. So that's the catalog. Yeah. And then use context. That's basically synchronizing the data from app.js and the catalog, or
yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
Okay.
So as long as this this function is inside, this component is inside the context, then you can call this value from wherever you want, which is very useful for like prop drilling issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay. So I'm just going to assume that the array I mentioned here, the item array, is going to be this mock data, which is just going to be simply like, this is going to be one of the boxes, like an image, the item name, and item price. So image URL, name, and price. And it's going to be a JSON object. And the next one's going to be another item, another like product, and then another product, and etc.
Yep.
So and this data would be called like consumed by using the context again. Like if I do this to consume the
okay,
then this item would be this.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. And I was mentioning like asynchronous and like Firebase storage, getting like data from Firebase storage. This is where I get the Firebase storage, and then I load it straight to here. As actually you can see right here, I'm changing the state, so I'm like loading the items to the item state, and then I'm putting that into context so I can call it right away from catalog.
Okay, so you're loading items from Firebase inside the use effect?
Yeah, so use effect, what it is, I guess I'll just go through it right now.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay, yeah. It's okay. Use effect replaces, have you like gone through component React before?
So just to give you a little background on me, I'm just like, sure. I know a little bit of React. Okay. Like I built my portfolio with React, but okay. I just used like use state and use effect, and that's it.
Okay. Okay. What did you use?
Yeah. But it was a while ago, like months. Sorry, what was your question?
What did you use effect for?
I should pull up my repo. I'm pretty sure I used use effect for animations. Yeah, because okay. I was using 3JS, well actually React 3 Fiber to make like a 3D website, and yeah, I'm pretty sure I used use effect because use effect makes things asynchronous, doesn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
So what I used use effect to basically like update the motion of 3D objects. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't worked with animations, but I think I can.
It's the same concept though.
Yeah.
I think. So like so that you have like an asynchronous function there,
Which is
So you
here.
got const low cart. I'm not very confident with like async and await. So hopefully by the end of tonight I'll get more of it. But yeah, I built some like hardcore 1,000-line spaghetti code 3D animation project. But yeah, anyway, so I'm all ears. I'm happy to learn this.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna assume you probably had you probably used it for like just the initial mount. So like when the app first loaded, I think.
Okay.
But what useEffects does is it updates the how should I say this? It updates. Oh, it remounts the app every time a change in whatever here happens. So for example, if this is like, and it has to be a state. So for example, this doesn't really make sense, but if it's an item here, like then every time the item here is changed, like the state of this item is changed, then it'll run this.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So use effect is kind of like a listener to say, hey,
yeah, exactly.
Is one of these components changing its data, and then if it is changing, then execute these other functions, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
If it's empty, then it only happens the first load it happens, the first time it loads. If it's completely like, if you don't have the array here, then every time any change to any state happens, then this will run, which you most likely will not want. Yeah, so here what's happening is I have two functions here. These are the service calls to backend.
Yeah.
It's just getting the shopping cart and the items from Firestore. That's all it's doing, and then it's loading it right away. So as soon as it loads, load the cart and load the items, and yeah, that's it. And then since you're changing the state of the cart and the items, the entire app will reload, and the values here will be updated. So I can now call that using context. So it all comes together here. Yeah. So this is like a classic example of how it would be used. Maybe instead of, I was going to go through like .map and .filters, because those are pretty useful, and like converting this into like being able to dynamically change it. But maybe it'll be helpful to go through the UI to backend first.
Sure.
So this is the catalog code. As you can see here, the first thing we're doing is use effect. So even if there is an item, actually I should mention this. Even in this case, we are using items because every time the items is updated. So like if this cart updates the items, then it's saying refresh the view, so that like it adds another item to the view.
I think it's interesting that it says const items set cart. How come it's const items set cart but not const items set? What was the other setter?
Set items.
So yeah. How come it's not that?
In this case, I did it like this because we have a feature down here where you can, like, if you click on an item, then it'll add it to the cart. So I needed to carts. Yeah, that's why.
Okay.
Without that feature, we wouldn't need it. No.
Gotcha. Okay.
But even if you do have an items parameter in here, it'll load the first time the app loads, and then from then on, every time items is changed, it'll continue to reload the app. So no matter what, if you use effect, then it'll reload the entire app at least once. Yeah, so what it does here is, as soon as the items is heard, it pretty much divides it into 4 columns. I don't want to go through the entire code. It's just, it divides it into 4 columns. And then if each row has 4 columns, then it'll make another row and then start filling in the 4 columns, stuff like that. That's what it does. I guess I'll start with the this called the shopping. Actually, yeah, the shopping cart first. So you mentioned asynchronous and await. It's similar to .then if you're familiar with it. It really is just mean like wait until this happens and then go to the next step. That's really what it means. That's literally it. But for you to use the await keyword, you need to say async of the parent.
So it says wait and get shopping cart is called.
Is done. Yeah.
Until it's done whatever it's doing, and then set the cart.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So if I had like a function timeout or something like that, like set timeout, and I was like set timeout 5 seconds, or like exactly. 5,000 milliseconds, and then right after that I had an alert pop up that says, "Hey, what's up?" Then it would wait 5 seconds for "Hey, what's up?" to
exactly.
Okay, yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
But the thing is, it wouldn't make sense for the code to actually, like, it's conceptually stopping here, but it wouldn't make sense for the actual app to wait, literally pause everything that's happening here until the code happens.
Yeah.
So what is actually happening in the behind the scenes, I guess, is there's 3 parts: pending, fulfilled, and basically like broken error. So if as soon as this await call has happened, it'll use the pending state and move on to the code. And the pending state is usually just like empty, right? And so like, let's just say the cart for now. So the cart is going to be empty. Like the loaded cart is going to be empty. And then once like, let's say like after, let's use your example, after 5 seconds, say hello, then it'll say after 5 seconds, it'll re-update this like call, I guess. And then it'll change the value to hello. Or if it broke somewhere, then it'll say like error. So that's like behind the scenes of.
So that's what would happen if I called loaded cart dot fulfilled, or like.
Oh no, that's not what actually like the pending fulfilled and error is usually handled by whatever the backend server is. So in our case, Firebase, yeah.
Oh, okay.
You can like force the fulfilled error and pending by doing a new promise object, but it's like kind of weird and janky, complicated. Here you can do p dot fulfilled or something like that. Oh wait, no, sorry. And here it's like if it's fulfilled. Oh yeah, resolved, rejected, or it doesn't have an error function. Oh, it's probably dot catch, but this is like if it fulfilled, if it errored, and then yeah. But we don't really usually like force a promise function like this though. But we usually just let the backend handle that.
Okay.
So how like industries usually do like integration from UI to backend, because like if the app gets bigger, then it's really hard to manage them. So what people usually do is have a service folder. And so there's a service folder for the UI. So right now we have UI and backend right here, right? So there's a service folder for UI and one for backend. And what it does is pretty much makes the call to backend, but all the service calls are in this folder. It's just like a consolidated backend call, pretty much. So right now we have this is actually a mistake. This should be like item services, service.js. So the item services should be in here. But anyways, but for the cart data, so the from app.js we use get shopping cart, right? Here we are making our first request to backend. So in our case, we're using Axios.
Axios, yeah, standard.
One of the most popular ones. It's either Axios or the native fetch statement.
Requests.
Right?
I think it's requests of JavaScript standard library.
Yeah. I don't use the other one, so I'm not sure. But Axios is a pretty standard one. Really simple. In our case, we're just getting data. So it's really like you just Axios.get to the backend URL, in which our case is through localhost, because I'm running it right now.
Yeah.
So this is UI and this is backend, and I'm using Node.js to run the server.
Yeah.
But it's a get, so there's no other parameters. You're literally just doing a request to this URL. But if it's a post, then you need the URL and the request, which in our case, since it's add shopping cart, it would be like an item in here, and then we'll let the backend handle it. And then once the backend handles the data, like for example, grabs or adds data to the Firebase, then it'll return. Right here, we have another await. So it'll return, and then we're storing that to response, and then we're returning it right back. So if we're going back here, then it goes to loaded cart.
Is response a method of Axios there, or
No,
what?
it's just I made it up. If you want, you can just do return.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see that it was just defined right above there. My mistake. Okay.
Yeah. It just looks cleaner like this.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
And this gets a lot of people. Like every time a request has been made from any Express servers, then the response back as object, and then for you to actually get the data, you have to do response dot, which is a lot of people get tripped up by this. Don't forget about the dot data, getting a response back from backend server.
Yeah, because so data would be some kind of like if we went like Axios dot post and then the thing in there dot data, would that return anything?
That really depends on how you set up the backend. In my case, I made it so that it returns the cart, so it's easier for me to like deal with the states. But if you choose not to, then you don't need it. Like you don't need it either. Then you don't even need the await statement because you're not waiting for anything.
Yeah,
it's up to you how you.
Okay, but it's like good practice to use it. Maybe.
I don't think it's good practice, but it really depends on how you want to architect it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is making a lot of sense. Really awesome. Yeah.
Good. Okay. So now that we made a request to backend server, let's go to the backend. So this is our server, I guess, right? This is our server. We're using Express for our server. Keep in mind, from here on, we're not using React, so we're on plain Node.js, and Node.js we can't do like import Express from Express. We have to use this janky const Express equals Express. Yeah,
it's all Node syntax.
Yeah, Node syntax. And then we need this body parser.json in order to actually like read the requests. I forgot the theoretical reason behind it, but we just need it. And then there's another I guess these two are configurations for the server. So this allows you to read the request, and this allows you to read the request only from this server, which is our UI, localhost 3000, our UI, right?
Yep.
And then like you can choose to have like credentials here, like OAuth tokens or like any kind of security stuff. So
we know what CORS. I'm just really curious what CORS stands for. It's something kind of reading service, maybe.
I don't know.
CORS.
It's cross-origin resource sharing.
Cross-origin resource sharing. Okay, that makes sense. So that's like, hey, we're getting stuff from the front end to the back end, like cross. Yeah, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I didn't even know that.
I didn't. I definitely didn't. All right. Cool.
Right. So so these are configs for the Express server, and then it's pretty much saying as soon as you get a request from localhost 3000, then send it to routes. And then this is saying our server is listening for any requests. So what routes is, let's go to routes.
Yeah.
So here comes a little bit of a peeking of the Mvc architecture. So I'm using Express Promise Router, which simplifies a lot of the coding. Pretty much, for example, I sent a request to local 3003, which is backend, /cart/get. And it was a get request, then this will be activated, pretty much. And as soon as it's activated, it goes to a get cart controller.
Yeah.
And from here, you can do anything you want. So like I said, it's in our case, we don't do that much. So it looks really like small and unnecessary to do another use a service call from here.
Yeah. If we had some big app, then you would want to do things like this, probably.
Exactly.
Yeah, makes sense.
I've seen routers that literally have thousands of lines, and it's impossible to get through them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and a lot of them share the same services, so it's easier for you to separate service and controllers like this. And
Yeah.
that's why it's called MVC model view controller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So what's actually happening here? So far we went from UI to Axios to backend, and now we're at the controller, right?
Yeah.
Now from here we usually make another Axios request to any like corporate backend. Like for example, if this is our like ordering portal, and then this is like our like let's say ordering portal, and then it's like the landing page, and then this is the backend for the landing page, and we need to get like customer data, and usually corporates, like big corporates, have like a user database server, so we make another Axios request like that to the user database. That's how it usually works. And then the service call would be over here.
Oh, so we use Axios on the front end and the back end.
Yeah. So you're going from UI to a backend, and a backend to like a database.
Yeah. So Axios basically can you go back to the Axios on the front end, like the code there again, please?
Yep.
Okay, there we go. So what Axios is doing here is it's so whenever the get shopping cart function happens,
yep,
then this asynchronous function is listening. It's like, okay, get shopping cart was executed. Now wait until we send this get request to the backend at cart/get, and then return the response data. But basically, like that await there, what's happening during that await is it's actually somewhere it's picking it up with, maybe with cores is picking up that, like that Axios.get request. Like where on the back end does it receive that that it was, so it goes Axios.get, and then like where on the back end, so cart/get, wherever cart/get is, right?
Okay, so when it's making an Axios request, so this is pretty much divided into two parts, which is localhost 3003 and then the rest, right?
Yes.
So this backend server is listening for anything from
okay.
Yeah, from localhost 3000. And this is localhost 3003, so we're listening for any 3003.
Yes. Okay. So there's that part, and then the other part is the cart/get, which will be in roots.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then it's right there, cart/get cart controller, and then if we look at the get cart controller, then it is then it has that await cart services dot get cart.
Yeah.
And then we go here, and that's where it actually gets the stuff from the database.
Exactly. Yep. It sounds more complicated.
There's some complexity here. It's not super complicated, but like
same pattern.
Yeah. I'm really glad we're talking here, because like just watching YouTube tutorials or whatever is kind of gets, if I can actually ask questions and stuff, it's easier.
Yeah,
so it's awesome.
Yeah, it took me a while to understand this as well. So
I believe that. Yeah, but good job, man.
Thanks. But usually you would, like, we're using Firebase here, but it would be another Axios request from here.
Yeah. So Firebase doesn't actually get introduced until you have that services part. That's where Firebase is. So basically my question is, like, if I wanted to connect to MySQL or to MongoDB, the only place where I would like specify that would be here, or would I also just right there? I would just go like const MSSQL equals require MSSQL. And then I would just have like my DB config up in there. Connect to the database, and then maybe.
But I think like database configurations sometimes happen in the same level as index and index. But I'm not sure on that one. But I know for a fact that all like requests will be happening in services.
Yes.
Config probably like somewhere here. I don't know.
Yeah. And will I get access to this repo that you got going here?
Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. This is like my birthday.
I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'll just.
This is gold. Pure
Good.
gold.
I don't know how to send this. It's right here though. UBC DSC/web dev workshop.
Awesome. Okay.
And we have the slides here as well.
It's in the chat. We send the link in the chat.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Sorry, I was just kind of interested. I think you mentioned that you use Axios in the backend.
Well, not in this app, but usually you would, yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Like, I guess like small applications, you wouldn't need to. You could just you know like talk between the UI and the backend. But if you have like a giant database, then you would have another backend server for that database, and then to access that, you would need to. It's pretty much like UI to backend to database like this. But like a lot of applications don't really need this part. If it's small, then you could just have it between these two, right? But I'm just like saying because usually if you're working at a company, chances are you would have a database server. So I'm just showing you what like good practice is. Yeah. Right. Any other questions? I guess we could talk a little bit about Firebase now. It's really useful if you're trying to do like a startup, because it really handles user authentication, database, deploying it to the internet, like deployment, like image storing, like so much. It's literally saves so much time and energy and money, and it's made by Google, so it's really user friendly as well. Maybe Kadir, do you want to introduce Firebase?
Sure, I will share my screen.
Okay.
So here we go. As Joshua said, like Firebase is like really useful in a lot of applications because most of the stuff comes for free. So if you're a startup or like even a hackathon, if you want to create something from scratch and you don't want to deal with backends, you can use Firebase. And like normally, as Joshua said in the beginning, you wouldn't need a separate backend, and like Firebase would probably do everything that you want. But we want to show you the Express and Node a little bit. So we are going to use Cloud Firestore and storage for our application. And Cloud Firestore is a NoSQL database that is working synchronously in all of the devices. So it's like really useful. So I'm in Firebase console right now. So we are going to create a new project. So if you are starting something from scratch, this is going to be the first thing that you would do. Let's name the project as test project. This is not going to be the one that we are going to use for this workshop, but like this is going to be the steps that you would take. We are not going to use this for this workshop. Let's create the project. This is going to take maybe a minute or two. Okay, it's faster than I expected.
I think Firebase also offers like 10 gigabytes of free hosting and NoSQL, storage, and 50,000 free requests, read and writes per month, something like that. So it's like ridiculously cheap.
So if you want if you have like an idea and you don't want to invest in like the backend service or anything, first get the Firebase, and the feed side tier will probably get the work done for you to test it. So now we are going to create the app. So for our case, it's going to be a web app. So we create this, let's say test app. We're not going to use Firebase hosting. And now it's going to create our credentials. So this part, you need to copy this part, and you're going to use this part in your code. This shouldn't be public. And normally you hide this when you in production. And our Firebase config is going to be something different, and we will close it after the workshop. So make sure that you create your own app and make sure that you use that one, because our app is not going to be available after the workshop. So let's continue console. We're going to use Cloud Firestore to store our products and our cart, like our objects in the cart. So let's start in the test mode. Like when you start in the test mode, you don't, like everyone can read and write. And this is not something that you don't want in the production, but for the sake of simplicity, we are going to start in test mode. And location, like you can't change the location. So you just like, if you have a preference for the location, make sure that you do it in the beginning. So now it's creating the Firestore. We are going to use the Firestore for storing our images, our items, and our cards. And we are going to use storage to store our images because Firestore doesn't allow us to store images inside. So instead, we are going to have a link that points to the image in the storage. And I will show it there. So we are going to have two collections. Collections are like they are holding documents, and documents are like JSON objects. So we are going to have two collections, one for the items. And inside of the items, like let's create a random one. This ID is going to be determined for now I'm creating something random. We are going to have a field for the product name. Let's say name. We are going to need the price. We are going to have an image URL, and this will point to our image in the storage. And yep, we're also going to have a cart. Cart is going to store the items. However, there's only going to be one extra field, which is the quantity. And each time we add a new item, we are going to change that field. So we're going to have a name again. We're going to have the image. Like we're going to have the price. We're going to have the image URL. And we are going to have our quantity, which we will change. So like we're not going to use these objects in our like these exact ones, but I wanted to show you the structure because like this is important for us to create our Firebase functions. And we are going to use the storage for our store our images, and we will use a link to that to storage. So let's say item images. And this one is going to store the images essentially. So what we are going to do now is just to like, we will start to create the functions. So what are we going to do is like, we are going to create Firebase functions that are actually going to be called in the backend, which Joshua showed you in the beginning. So let's start by creating the Firebase class, which is going to be available in all of the projects when you import it. Make sure that you import the Firebase stuff. If you are using our project starter project, you can just make install and it will install everything that we use, which is includes the Firebase. But you can also, if it's like a standalone project, you should install Firebase so you will be able to use those stuff. So let's create a Firebase class. And we are going to have a constructor. And in this constructor, we want to make sure that the Firebase project hasn't been configured in anywhere yet. So what we can do is we can say that if not firebase.apps.length. So if this is 0, then we will be able to configure our Firebase app. So this is the part that we copy and pasted. It's going to be different for you. And after this, what we are going to do is we are going to create an instance variable called DB. And this will be our access point to the Firestore.
Sorry, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Cool. So they gave you, so like the second step after you put in your project name and whatnot, they gave you, that's like it said SDK. So what that was just like the JavaScript and HTML, but for some reason you created a JavaScript class called Firebase and then just like took the stuff out from it and then put it in there.
Yeah, so like this is our, like this contains our credentials that we use to initialize our app. Like this connects our Firebase app with our Node.js app. So I'm just like creating the constructor because like I'm going to add like more functions that you actually Joshua showed you. Like, do you remember we had like add cart, get items, stuff like that.
Mm.
They were handled in the Firebase, and actually those functions are the functions that we are going to create now. So we need a constructor, so we have like a valid point of access to Firebase.
Yep.
So this is our point of access to the Firestore, and we are going to create another instance variable called storage, and it's going to be firebase.storage. And this should be, this is the constructor. After that, we are going to have our getters in case you use it. Like you might use it, we didn't use it in the project, but like you might need it. So we're going to have it here. And getter for, this.db. And we are going to have another getter for the storage. And it will return this.storage. So what we are going to do next is, so like when we are designing the functions, what we are going to focus is like, what does the project is expecting from us? Like, what do we want to add and like get from the front end? So let's start with the get items function. This function is going to be a asynchronous one because it takes some time to get those items from Firebase. So let's call this just get items. And what we are going to do is, so I'm going to create a constant called snapshot, which is going to be the snapshot of our database at that moment. And I'm going to say this.db, which is our point of access to Firestore again. And we want to access to our collection of items. So we can simply say collection items, and we will say get. This doesn't return all of the items yet. However, this creates a snapshot of the items collection at that moment. What we are going to return is going to be return snapshot.docs. So now we got all of the documents, which are our items. What we want to return is going to be an array of the items that we have. So notice that the objects that we have are actually JavaScript objects. Like these are key value pairs. So like currently we have access to all of those key value pairs, but they're not an array yet. So we want to create an array. So what we're going to do is we are going to use a map function. And for each document that we have, we want its data. And this gives us a JSON array of the items that we want. Next function that I will create is going to be get item. And as I mentioned in the beginning, so we are going to decide the IDs when we are adding the product. So it's not going to be randomized as in the beginning. So I'm passing a parameter called ID. And what we are going to do is we are going to say const documents and then get this like this. Collection items and document. This time we will pass the ID. So it will give us the document with the ID that we passed, and we will just say get. After that, I think we can just return. Okay, actually there is one additional step that we can do. This is not going to be the case for our current use, but we can say if document exists, then return the data of the document. Like, okay, keep this in mind, like calling get function, it doesn't return the JSON object. So always like remind to like have this data thing in the end. And if data doesn't exist, then we are going to say, like we can create like a JSON response that will simply say return exists is false. And I think this should do the trick for get item. The next thing that we're going to do is going to be add item. So when adding items, we're going to have the ID, the item name, the item price, and the image. So there is this small trick when we are going to add items, because as I mentioned in the beginning, we can't store images directly in the Firebase. So what we want is we want a URL to storage that is containing the image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a URL, and I'm going to say, I'm going to create a function called upload image, which will return its download URL. So for now, let's assume that we have that function. And after I finish creating this method, I'm going to create that method as well. And in the end, we are going to say return this .db collection items. So we will say document ID. So we specify the ID here, and because we are specifying the ID when we are adding the item, so we can get the item by using its ID. And we will say set. We are going to have the name, which is the item name. We are going to have the price, which is going to be the item price. And we are going to have the image URL, which is going to be URL that we just parsed. And after that, what we want to do is, like, when you add an item, you want to update what you have in the product page. So we will say then this get items, and this will return all of the items that we have. And it's going to be useful in the backend again, because like when you add an item, you want to get all of the items, so you can have like a fresh product, like you can see all of the items that you have in the end. So now let's create the upload image function. Upload image, it's going to have an ID and an image. We want to, like, so for the storage, we first need to get a reference. So let's say our reference is going to be storage.ref. So this is a reference to the root directory of the storage that I showed you in the beginning. After that, we need to specify the metadata of the file that we are going to store, which is going to be an image. But like in general, you can do something like this. You can say content type, and instead of hard coding PNG, JPEG, anything, you can just simply say image.type. And this, like, by using this, like, you have a metadata that you can use for all of your images. After that, we are going to just simply upload this image. So what we will do is we are going to create the child, which is going to be under the item images that we just created in the beginning. And what we want to do is we want to append the ID. So each image is going to have its ID as its name, and then we want to put its data. And to do so, we will simply say image, and we need to pass the metadata as well. And after that, like after doing this, there's one thing that we want to get from this call. It's going to be the download URL, so we can store it in Firebase. So we will just say then, so we're going to get a snapshot again, snapshot. And that snapshot is going to be, what we want from that snapshot is we want the download URL. Snapshot.ref.get download URL. Now we have the download URL, and what we want to do with that is URL. Then we want to simply return it. I think there should be, actually we can just, after that, what we need is the, we are going to also need an add to cart function that is going to add the item that we specify to our cart. which was another collection that we have in our Firebase database. So we can say add to cart, and we are going to specify the ID, and we are going to get the document again. It's going to be the same. DB collection, items, and we want to say we will get document with ID, and we just get that. And what we want is we also have a cart document, and we are going to add our item to there. So we are going to do await this.db.collection. Cards. And what we want is we want to specify the document ID. This is like the exact, almost the same thing that we did for in here. So we will get the document again, but this time we want the one for the card document. And then we are going to return this.db.collection. So we will set this. The name is going to be document.data. So we are getting the item from the item documents, and we are actually moving it to the cart. There's going to be only one thing that is going to be different, and that is the quantity field that we added. So price is going to be exactly the same, document.data. That's price, and we have the image URL that is going to be the same image URL. So okay, this is a part that is only different from add item. So we want to get we want to have we want to count the quantities that we have in the cart. So what we can do is, so I'm going to if you don't have any of this specific item in the cart, then the cart document is going to be undefined. So if it is undefined, then its count is going to be 1. However, if it's not undefined, which means we have a item of that type, then we are just simply going to increase the number of items that we have for that specific item. So we are going to use if its type is undefined, then its count is going to be 1. Else it's going to be cart document data, and we are going to get the quantity, and we will simply increase it by 1. And yep, also in the end, we are going to just get the cart, just because the reason is the same as the item. We just want to have the most recent cart that we have, so we can render it in the front end. This get carts. So we have add to carts, we have upload image, we have get item. So I think we only need the get cart function. So get cart function is going to just, yep.
Sorry, do you mind explaining the part where you go this.storage.ref?
Which part, sorry?
I think it's an upload image. Yeah.
Upload image of this part?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So when you get the reference, you're getting the reference to the root directory. So if we step this code through, so when you ref is the reference to root directory, and then you create a child in item images by its ID. So if I show this is the current items that we have in our working version, and its storage has, let's say they're creating the item 1. So first here in the reference, we have this directory, which is a root directory. And when you say child item images.id, it creates this one.jpg. And in the end, you just put its data, and then this you just like send all of the image by saying put image metadata. And like after that, you can get the snapshot of that, and you can just guess its download URL, which is going to be useful when we want to store it in the Firebase. And then you return the URL, because actually we use this function as a helper function in our add item function, and this goes to our Firestore. And you can see that here. And Firestore, for the item 1, we have a link to the Firebase storage.
So the this.storage is just it's something you initialize at the top, or
this? Oh yeah, this.storage is Firebase storage.
Oh, okay.
It's an instance variable that you have.
Okay. Thank you.
No worries. Now we are going to create the get card method, and this is going to be real similar to get item, but we are not going to have a specific ID. We just want to get all of the cards. So this.gb collection card. This time we want to get the card, so we specify the collection like this. We get that, and we are going to return the snapshot, and we are going to use the map function again, because we want an array, because a card contains multiple items. Docs.map, and for each document we want its data, and then this gives us a array of items that we have in the card. And in the end, we need to export this so it can be used in the other files that we have, and we are like making backend calls and etc. Yes, so this is the part for Firebase.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Is it common that people don't use like try and catch statements? Like it's not necessary if you're using an async function, is it? Like isn't there error handling built into that?
So like I think actually Joshua like help me if I'm saying something wrong, but as far as I know, like you can use the try catch statements, because like as far as I know, you can get exceptions. But like for our case, we just want to get just something working like real simple. But if you have like a concern about robustness, then I think you can use it. But I think Joshua has more information on that.
Okay, sure.
It's very good practice to do catch. Like you should always do catch, but we were just lazy.
Well, I mean, you don't want to teach 100 things at the same time. But so oh, my pizza's here. Sorry, I just got a call. Yeah, you could just drop it off in the front, please. Okay. Thank you. You too. Bye-bye. Yeah, sorry. Okay. Where were we? Yeah, Firebase. Yeah, so using try and catch statements. So like generally you would have a try catch statement. Like you'd have the async function inside a try, like on pretty much everything, or what?
No, you wouldn't. Actually, like as far as I know, we don't use try and catch, but we would do dot catch. So like, if you remember async and a way to replace is dot then, right? So instead, we would do like dot then and then with an empty bracket and then dot catch. Or if you want to, you could use.
Okay, so you just kind of build it in there with a dot catch instead of doing like a traditional try catch.
Exactly, and that's just how Firebase built it. Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense, I think. Yeah.
And Firebase has really good like error handling. Like it's very clear what's wrong if there is some kind of error. Like if you forgot to initialize your app, then it'll say, "Oh, you forgot this," or if the database that you're trying to call doesn't exist, then it'll tell you like there's so many like edge cases that they covered, they're very good with their documentation, like error handling.
Okay, cool. And the like usually like I see in Firebase here it says real-time database. Typically like for us, like we're not using that, right? Like we're using Firestore and storage.
Yeah, real-time database and Firestore are the same thing, except Firestore is newer, and Firebase allows people to use Firestore.
Okay, yeah. Okay, sorry if you guys already mentioned that. Yeah, my dog was kind of distracting me for a sec there.
No worries.
But yeah, so Cloud Firestore is like the new and improved version, I guess. So yeah, so we have a collection. A collection would be kind of like a relation, more or less, like if we're thinking in terms of relational databases, right? Yes, we got our we got our carts, our items, and then we would have several different Firestores within, like if we had like a really big app, like let's say we were making a game or something like that, we would have several Firestores. Is that how it works? Or would you just generally have a bunch of different collections?
I actually haven't thought about that, but I know Firestore does lack a little bit in like scalability. It's usually intended for small to medium-sized companies, but that like you could have multiple Firestores with just different configurations. That's possible, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So that'd be like a architect kind of question though. And then storage. Okay, so we have our Firestore. That's okay. That has all of our rooms, which kind of make these gibberish kind of things, but these gibberish kind of like things, they actually hold the data about our like center name. So that's just like automatically created. Like I like the middle column here. Like what's going on with that middle column?
The documents column?
Yeah. So that's just like the name of the document.
Okay, so how it's usually like arranged, I guess. So Firestore is used for like the native native data types, the native data structures. So like arrays, strings, numbers, etc. And then storage handles everything else like images and videos. And for Firestore specifically, how it's usually arranged is like it's Firestore handles everything like authentication and like hosting and everything. So you can link authentication with Firestore, and typically it would be like right now we have cart and items as collection, but it would be like users as collection, and then the documents would be a list of users, and then within the collection it will be like name, age, stuff like that. So it's like
okay, I get you. So Firestore is where you store all of like your actual data, like if your image URLs, for example, like username, stuff like that. Is there encryption built in like for passwords and stuff too? Is that usually stored there as well?
It's not stored in Firestore. It's stored in their Firebase authentication, but it's all encrypted.
Okay.
And, like super easy to use.
It's all encrypted anyway, right?
Yeah.
Good, as it should be. Okay, so then. Sorry, I'll be right back. My pizza's gonna get cold. It's outside. Just 1 sec.
No worries. But for other people, they have like password resetting functions as well, and they have email templates that sends the verification code back to the users, and you can modify those email templates. Like literally, it's you can do anything. Like you can build a startup with just React and Firebase if you want.
Awesome. Way to go.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Clarence, I see Joshua, I see Mert. Good to see you guys. I think we're just gonna like slowly wrap it up. So we'll just ask like last questions, and then we will. Did we know the prompts and everything?
Yeah, we're just like doing like Q&A now.
Have you covered prompts in detail?
Sorry?
Have you covered the prompts in detail?
Sorry, what prompts are you talking about?
the prompts for the hackathon, the web development kids are doing.
Kagan, wanna help me out here? I don't know what you're talking about.
So do you want to
Alright, so
send the link to it?
yeah,
So everyone in this group would have gotten sent this file last night or yesterday morning, depending on which way you look at it. It's just listing all the prompts for all three paths: web development, app development, and UI UX. So you guys are web development, so you'll see there's 3 or 4 prompts you can choose from to implement a hackathon project.
Oh.
I'm gonna hop out to the UI UX group.
Okay. Thanks. Is Kagan here? Kagan? Did you guys receive, did you guys know what he was talking about the?
I haven't received anything about that, but I think we have the prompts in the chat. So let's take a look.
Okay, so I think he sent the
Yeah,
prompts. In the
I see it
chat.
in the Gmail. Yeah, it's an attachment. It says
Yeah,
prompts.
so, yeah, I think we already have
level up
like
prompts.
a web, like the web UI UX thing, and you guys can actually go through that.
Oh, so
yes, sir. I guess like we have already provided the resources for all of those in the GitHub repo, and yeah, you can like go over the prompts as well. This basically outlines like the participants can choose one of them, and yeah, that's the main project they'll be working on for the next like 18 hours. So yeah, you guys can like go ahead and like explain that, and all the resources they'll need will be in the GitHub repo that's already shared with them.
Do you guys have any questions or anything about the event?
Okay, so what we're doing basically is we're like forking the DYNE app and then making some feature on it. Is that it?
It'll actually be better if we go over the prompts. Have you taken a
Let's
look
go
at
the
them?
prompts.
Yeah, I can like share my screen as well.
Yeah, go ahead. Let's share your screen. Let's go over them in detail.
So web development. So this is the first prompt, I guess. So it asks you like design an interface which can be used to select search for menus or in a database. And basically it's the use of screen scraping tools, and you can like integrate menu data with the existing restaurants. All the resources that you need will be available inside the repo. So for example, if I go into the repositories in DYNE DSC, this is shared with all the participants. Inside the assets, you will see like a restaurants JSON file, which consists of like a database of over 500 restaurants. It's like a 5,000 line code, and it consists all the fields that we have access to right now. You can make use of this and add in your own fields as well. So in a way, it's like a database of restaurants. You can like search different restaurants and get access to the menus as well. And the way you can like get access to all the menus will be to like either like do some screen scraping and make use of UI and search and format your data as a JSON file. That's the first prompt. The second one is like a reservation service. You'll be creating a portal where you can create reservations at restaurants. That'll include your booking time, booking date, and all of that. You'll have to like make sure that the bookings are made at times which are not actually already booked. And furthermore, I guess, there are like a lot of open source APIs available as well, like OpenTable, and the whole interface will include like a similar search feature for your restaurant and a reservation service where you put in all your details and book it with like the number of people you're meeting and all of that. how this will help DYNE is that it will like obviously like this is a new service that can be created, and this will help put more focus on the actual restaurants than the users, which we want to do in the long term. And yeah, this is basically like a intuitive restaurant reservation service. Going with the third one, I guess onboarding restaurants. So right now, as you can see, our app allows users to onboard them along by like giving details or the name, the picture, the bio, and all that. What we want to do is make it easier for restaurants to onboard themselves on the app as well. So we create the main focus of this will be to create an onboarding service for a restaurant where it's like kind of overlapping with the first, the second one. So any restaurant here would be able to like create a new restaurant user, add in any details, including like name, the time, open timings, and all of that. And this will be in a way a portal that is available to the restaurant to get access to all the like details or the number of users actually meeting there and the number of meetups. And this will also help DYNE to oversee the, I guess, the data of like which restaurants are actually trending this week and like how many, depending on the number of meetups and how many people actually go to those. That will help. Um, yeah, and the last part of this would be to add in the deals. So rather than making it like a manual process where the DYNE team has to always like update all the deals from all the restaurants, how about we make it easier for the restaurants as well? So any any new offers or deals or any coupons, I guess the restaurants would be adding those in the onboarding process as well. It'll be like a portal where restaurant can have the current uh, coupons and offers, and they can edit it out with like automatically reflected in the database, which is I guess Firebase you guys are using. And yeah, this will be reflected so that this can further be pulled and all the information is available for the user in tables as well. Yeah, I guess these three are the main prompts that are there for web development. And yeah, I think I'll open the stage for any questions.
You guys have any questions regarding the prompts or the event structure? No, I think like for Discord, please react to the message on in the check-in desk so that you guys can see rest of all the channels there and you guys can interact with all the channels. So yeah, just join all the team channels and just you guys can start working now. The hackathon is officially started. And yeah, you guys can maybe just leave, if you guys want, you guys can leave the channel room or you guys can join the UI UX workshop. And thank you so much. Great job, Joshua, Kerem and Kadir. It was a great workshop. And I really loved the workshop. It was really good. Thanks so much, guys, for presenting it. And yeah. So
thanks, Joshua, Karim.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening.
Good luck on the hackathon.
Yeah, good luck, guys.
Good luck, guys.
And yeah, I think I'll see you guys at the judging where Joshua, Kerem and Kadir, you guys will be judging the projects that that our participants will be coming up with. So yeah, looking forward to judging and just like the next parts of it.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. I think let's move back to the main room. And yeah, let's actually just, if you guys want, you guys can join the UI UX workshop, which has been going great as well. They are doing so much. They're doing a really good job with that. I think let's just move back to the main room, and then you guys can join the UI UX workshop.
Okay.
Okay.
See you guys there.
See ya.
Thanks, guys.
Back.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Did you guys bring your crew with you or just the leads? I see Sean and Shashwat and Shav. How can we help you guys?
Right, Clarence as well. All right, so how can I help you guys? I hope you guys had a good workshop.
Arnav, can you actually move everyone to the UI UX workshop, because that's the only workshop running still. So let's just move everybody to the UI UX workshop.
All right, awesome. So